What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Opendoor. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Opendoor did have a little bit of a rough Friday, went down 5.67%. So the market is going to be really looking to see if that's just more of a one-off consolidation. So once I go over the technicals, that will make a little bit more sense. But this week is going to be a big week for the broader market because of data. So Monday, we don't really have that much, so that's going to be more linked to technicals. Tuesday, we have JOLT numbers as well as ADP employment. So last week, it did come in at negative 13,000. JOLT numbers, again, are going to be a big one. They've really proven itself that they can kind of move the market. Aside from that, though, on Wednesday, that's going to be the big deal. So more specific to Opendoor, we have the mortgage applications, mortgage market index, but it's going to be the interest rate decision. So that's going to be coming out at 1 o'clock. It is fair to assume that we're going to be getting the 25 basis point cut. So going into this upcoming week, there is a 86.2% likelihood of a, again, 25 basis point cut. But what Powell says afterwards in the conference, that's what's really going to move the broader market. And I feel like there has been kind of lower volume, not just with Opendoor, but happening across the board, because there's a lot of fears still, right? People generally don't know what is coming next, and they've really fixated on interest rates being the next big catalyst. So if Powell comes out and hints to a January cut, that might be enough to prompt a larger rotation to start to occur. Because even just last week alone, there was $86.82 billion that left both the crypto as well as the equity markets to go back to money markets. So right now we're sitting at all-time highs of $7.65 trillion sitting in money markets. So again, most people would be comfortable just earning the whatever 3% plus. So potentially this week we could start to see that rotation start to occur where money leaves money markets to go back into crypto equity. That's again if Powell really does hint to a January cut. And this is the current outlook right now and expectations for the January 28th, 2026 meeting. So you have a small likelihood of a following 25 basis point cut, 65.4% likelihood of a 25. That's again if we don't get that for the December 10th meeting. So the market's starting to be a little bit more optimistic based on all that. This upcoming week, there really isn't anything planned. So no fireside chats, no interviews. Kaz and management team have still been very, very quiet on social media, which in my opinion might be kind of the right thing to do just to change the narrative of everything. And I think that also might be changing just short's perspective on Opendoor. And I actually did see some articles that did come out over this weekend talking about Opendoor's short interest and how shorts have really returned a significant amount in the last little bit. So going into this upcoming week, 13.67% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 106.98 million shares overall being shorted. So you still do see some signs of naked shorting. I don't like to wear the tinfoil hat and kind of speculate too much, but it does look as though that there is some naked shorting happening because shares on loan 79.68 million and number of shares being shorted is 106.98 million. So again, the math doesn't really add up there for a lot of different reasons. So potentially there could be some naked shorting happening with Opendoor. So again, if you believe in squeezes, this one could be potentially a good candidate. Short score is 55.69. So the higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening. So this is what we're going into this upcoming week with. Looking at the options from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around $8. So a good amount of recovery is on the table. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub between, looks like 650 and 7. So the fact that we did close at 715 on Friday signals that there is a lot more upside than down. Couple key levels to watch for right now though. With it at 715, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So 699 is going to be a strong support. That wasn't tested whatsoever on Friday. Flip side, 757 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. And it kind of did bounce off of that general area for on Friday. So that was also one attributing factor why Opendoor would have went down, because anytime a stock does bounce off of a key support or resistance, usually causes some level of consolidation. So I feel like this 757 was kind of the culprit why Opendoor did go down. Aside from all that though, on the actual chart, this week again is going to be a pretty big week because ideally it does get above that blue line, that 50-day moving average, signaling good momentum, and I think that's overall a pretty big deal for a lot of growth stocks in general. But if Powell somehow comes out and really comes doom and gloomish and whatever else, you could see some consolidation to potentially that 100-day moving average, which is sitting at 616. So that's kind of the absolute bear case. Bull case, you have a 25 basis point cut and then Powell alluding to another 25, which would really push the broader markets kind of appetite for risk significantly higher than what it is, and most likely cause a retest of this $9 range. So let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. When it comes down to the Elliott Wave technicals, if it is able to get above that 896, then in theory 1051 to 1143 is potentially on the table. So again, just some kind of stuff to keep in mind. So overall, I do feel this upcoming week is going to be a pretty big week for the broader market. Good for day traders and swing traders. So let me know your general thoughts on Opendoor and where you feel things are going to go. I do feel by the end of the week we will be between this R2 and this R1, so between 815 and 851. So a nice recovery potentially on the table, and I think that again is going to be linked to just the rate cut and just a lot of optimistic kind of viewpoints of now January. So with all that said, let me know your thoughts. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.